You are welcome to another episode of Banking Helpdesk on your station, Glorious Vision Television. Today, we want to give you a kind of report that is going to help you as our lovely viewers. Nigeria is operating a new tax reforms. And for us to be there, the government is carrying out a lot of overhaul. So it is on that note, we are trying to give information, vital information, that will be of help to our numerous viewers. So today, we want to give you developments on opening and operation of bank accounts and tax reforms beginning from January 1, 2026. Tax reforms. Update on tax reforms vis-a-vis opening and operation of bank accounts effective January 1, 2026. Now, beginning from January 1, 2026, Nigerians will no longer be able to open or operate accounts, run businesses, or access financial services without a taxpayer identification number, tax ID or TIN. What does the law say? As it was signed into law by the President of Nigeria in August, the new Tax Authorization Act makes it compulsory for one, individuals. No bank accounts can be opened or operated without a tax ID. It's going to be a hefty time for the banks because they will need to key your ID into the system. Meanwhile, before the ID be generated, you will need to collect the ID before taking it to the bank. So for category 1, individual, effective January 1, 2026, you will not be able to operate your account or open a new one without a tax ID. Category 2, businesses, from roadside traders to multinationals, all must register for tax ID. You must register for tax ID. How do you do that? You will hear later. 3, government agencies. They are required to obtain tax IDs before entering contracts. As government agents, before government agencies, before you enter into contracts with anybody or any contractor, the contractor must have tax ID. Somebody is going to build for you, must have his tax ID. So the next one is foreign suppliers. Foreign suppliers must register with the new Nigeria Revenue Service before doing businesses in Nigeria. Not only suppliers, anybody coming into Nigeria, but come, tax ID or tax IDs are not a new development. They have been so passive for years. They are not coming anew. But the point is, the government is just waking up to be serious about it. Tax identification number. Under Section 8, Subsection 2 of the Act, banks, insurers, and stockbrokers will be barred from providing services to anyone without a tax ID. So, availing your service provider with your tax ID is not restricted to what? To banks alone. Or because banks are the places we visited more than any other places. Why the reform is so important? Hear this. Tax reforms. Why are they so important at this point in time? Nigeria has long struggled with weak tax compliance. The authorities concerned don't really work seriously or had not been working seriously to rake in cash through taxation. So this is really affecting the government. Nigeria has long struggled with weak tax compliance. Nigeria, 10% tax to GDP ratio. Ghana, 13. Even Ghana here. Kenya, 16. South Africa, 27% plus. Global average is 34. If we are 10% and the global average is 34, can you see the disparity? That's 24. We are with 24% lagging behind. No wonder the reforms. Out of 200 million plus citizens in Nigeria, only 10 million are registered taxpayers, while more than 60 million Nigerians hold bank accounts. If 10 millions are registered taxpayers and 60 million Nigerians are holding bank accounts, out of those 60 million Nigerians, there must be taxable millions. And that is what the federal government is trying to do and to discover. This gap explains why revenue remains poor despite Nigeria's economic size. Past reforms like bank verification, BVN, and the National Identification Number, NIN, improved identity management. Sure. Now the bank tax ID mandate is seen as the next bold step to widen the tax net and cut reliance on oil. Yeah. If the government is able to rake in money through tax reforms, then we will not rely on oil alone. If the government is bringing in dollars are not spent in our economy. It will still be converted into naira. So these tax reforms are coming as at when needed to boost government revenue. The Act also abolishes the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, replacing it with the Nigeria Revenue Service, NRS, a major institutional shake-up. Yeah, it is. FIRS is being shaken up with its replacement with Nigeria Revenue Service. Implications for citizens. I want us to listen and take note of this. Bank customers that is implications on bank customers, effective 1st January 2026. No deposits, withdrawals, or transfers without tax ID. It must be submitted to the banks or insurance or whatever for them to key it into your system. Remember how they did BVN at the beginning. Now, the second one is small businesses. Informal traders must register, creating new compliance obligations. Corporate Nigeria, stricter oversight will reduce tax loophole. Stricter oversight when the business outfits register their business with their valid TIN, then to enforce or ensure compliance will not be a problem. Foreign firms, non-resident suppliers must comply, like we said before. Many foreign firms are not paying tax to federal government. However, it's not their fault. It's because nobody is standing on their neck. However, should people stand on their neck before they pay? Can that happen in their own countries of origin? You know what it takes for you, a foreigner, not to pay tax overseas, and the penalties it attracts. Now, there have been public reactions. A civil servant in Abuja expressed concerns, that is the authorities concerned and the press have been able to get some public reactions. According to a civil servant in Abuja, it's good for accountability, but I fear delays and corruption in the process. A typical Nigeria is talking here. And I share his opinion. The reform is good and it's a welcome development. But delay and the corruptions are really part of Nigeria's system. How are we going to manage that? The moment a policy is bringing in money, Nigerians too sit down to see how they can take advantage of the policy and the system. Another opinion by a Lagos-based tax consultant that welcomed it. This is long overdue, like I said the other time. It's long overdue. Without linking tax IDs to financial services, compliance will never improve. We talked about 200 plus population, where only 10 million people are having bank accounts and are paying tax. Not even the whole 10 million are paying tax. Here the report. Out of 200 million citizens, only 10 million are registered taxpayers. Those taxpayers, they are registered. Are they all paying? Why more than 60 million Nigerians hold bank accounts? Can you see the presentation? 10 million registered as taxpayers, while about 60 million Nigerians are holding bank accounts. Something is wrong somewhere. Yeah. And I think it's going to be corrected. Risk and concerns. Exclusion of the poor. With 38 million adults unbanked, the reform could sideline vulnerable groups. I don't think it is to their own disadvantage. When adults who are no longer productive are not taxable, I want to believe it is still good for the economy. it is still good. We'll be able to face the reality by not lumping the 38 million adults who are unbanked, by not lumping them with the figures of the productive and the bankable ones. Now, bureaucratic delays and corruption. Risk of officials exploiting the registration process. No, it is not done on time. If you go at the pressure time, you might be asked by Nigerian authorities, or don't let me say authorities, the officials, to drop something. People will look for how to become millionaires by you coming to pick TIN that should have been ordinarily processed for you. Trust Nigerian officials. Now, awareness gap. Millions may miss the deadline. That's sure. We are in Nigeria. Millions may miss the deadline. And that is why this program is offering you a good opportunity to make sure you process and have yours before the deadline. By the time it is 1 week or 2 weeks to the time, imagine everybody will now come at the same time. Why won't the government officials capitalize on this to exploit people? So avoid it. 5 things Nigerians must know about tax ID law. 1, effective date. Nigerians, you must know that effective date is January 1, 2026. No tax ID, no financial services. Effective date is tax. We are now summarizing for you. 2, who must register? Take this, is very important. Individuals, businesses, foreign suppliers must and should register for tax ID. Number 3, where does this apply? Banks, insurance, stock market, contracts, and business registration. Even when you are registering your business, you still be required to present what? Tax ID. Why does it matter? The policy is going to expand tax net. I love this language, tax net. That is, when tax net is spread, it will collect more people than it used to collect. Boost revenue for development. And 5, risks. That is what number 5 is talking about. Exclusion, corruption, delays, low awareness. Let our viewers not complain about low awareness. Now, the awareness is being given through this station, GVTV. Corruption, only God will help this country through government officials. Delay, what people are now getting for a period of 3 days, by the time everybody is coming at the same time, that is the rush. For 2 weeks, you might not get it. Every time. By the time you come, somebody is coming to give it to you, might be stylishly asking for something. Nigerians, God will deliver us. Now, question and answer for Nigerians. Based on this, what is a tax identification? Answer is, it's a unique number issued by Nigeria Revenue Services for tax purposes, likely linked to BVN and AIN. Those of you who are still opening bank accounts, you can see that aside your BVN, banks now prefer NIN because to some appreciable extent, they have been given the right to connect the server of NIN to verify. Couple of months ago, I went to pick some cash from the bank. I didn't present my physical NIN. I just wrote. And they logged in into the system of NIN to verify my NIN. They logged in into the system and they were able to confirm. And for BVN too, the facility is available. That's that. Now, who needs it? I've told you, everyone, individual businesses, and foreign suppliers. Question: when does it take effect? We are repeating this often and often so that you will not be taken advantage of. When does it take effect? Our viewers, is taking effect from January 1, 2026. How does one register? How does one register? Whether individual, whether business, or whatever. How does one register? The NRS will publish guidelines. Expected steps includes visit the NRS office to center at some designated Nigeria Revenue Service offices and center. You must have one close to your domain. Go there and register. Visit them. Register by completing application forms. Provide your NIN. Provide your BVN. Valid ID addresses and business documents if applicable. If or when applicable. That is, if you are opening a business account. Receive tax ID. Yeah. Question 5. What happens if I don't register? The answer is simple. The answer is simple. You will be unable to operate bank accounts, access insurance to stockbroking, sign government contracts, or run a registered business. That is just what is going to happen. I take it again. What will happen if you are unable to register by 1st January 2026 is that you will be unable to operate bank accounts, access insurance, access to stockbroking firm, sign government contracts, or run a registered business. Again, from January 1, 2026, tax compliance will become a ticket to financial access, full financial access in Nigeria. This reform is a test of whether government can implement change without worsening hardship. Can you hear that? No, time is part of our system. If government wants to effect a kind of change, hardship must follow. That is, in the process, individual, corporate bodies, and so on, even the government themselves will lose something through hardship and to hardship. Is it going to be like that now? For citizens, it is both a challenge and a call to prepare before the deadline. You have just heard it. A call to prepare before the deadline. Don't let us introduce Nigeria factor. That is, until when it is 2 days to the close or to the deadline, everybody will now rise up together to go to the NRS office. Now, this is another division of tax reform. Again, we will close this episode by telling you essence of tax reforms. The essence of this tax reform is to comprehensively overhaul the Nigerian tax landscape to drive economic growth, increase revenue generation, add regional discrepancies in tax administration, and on the overall simplify the compliance. If it is well or judiciously used, Nigeria will be a better place for me and you. Thank you for watching. And it is on this note we are drawing the curtains for today. Goodbye.